damage to the wallet, to golf courses, and all points in between. You have found Quiet Please, the golf podcast. I am Alan Depew. I'm your host, joined with our illustrious panel. Uh, Appreciate you giving us a listen. If you're listening on the podcast, reach over there, hit a like, give us a 5-star. If you're watching on our new YouTube channel, appreciate if you subscribe. Once again, leave comments. Always like comments. Andy especially likes comments. And Andy's here.
Yes, it's nice to have a full squad tonight.
It is a full squad tonight. I'm speaking to Andy Hydorn, the greatest golfer ever in the Houston area.
Yeah, I'm the greatest golfer in my humble abode here. That's about it.
Also joining us, President Reimagine and Mr. The Woodford Club, Bob Baldessari. Hello, Bob.
Having some extra bourbon tonight because it's so cold.
It is a wee bit chilly. Uh, safely joining us now from Florida, writer, golf teacher extraordinaire, Brendan Elliott. Welcome back, BE.
Good evening.
BE's looking good, boys, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
We're going to
Damn
chime
right.
in. We may need to chime in on that because I think that's a great message. And then, of course, who's always looking good, Andy?
Well, the young fella.
Yeah. He's not weathered by the sun.
I'm trying to grow the beard out like the boys.
Christian Nazamus, the prettiest podcaster in golf, is back in the house.
The gray's coming in the beard though, so that's a problem.
All right, so
embrace it.
Embrace it.
We had a golf outing this week, and I worked with this group for 10 years, and I walked up and she says, "Did you grow a beard?" I'm like, "Yeah, 4 years ago." All right, so hey,
keep your head down, honey.
I was gonna go Ryder Cup. I'd rather talk storm damage because I hope you were feeling our prayers. We were worried about you and Florida. I know not everybody got unscathed down there, but how bad was that?
Well, my mother-in-law lives in Bradenton, and we were worried for her, and she said, "I got to stay because she works for county government, and I have to do." I'm like, "No, you're not staying. You have to get here," because at that point it was coming bullseye for Bradenton
as a cat 5 at 180.
Yeah, but it wasn't so bad here. We did lose power for a couple of days. There's still people without power around here, which blows my mind, but we have flooding issues. We've been wet for a while, the last few months. It's been a wet summer, so there was bound to be some flooding issues, and people are still dealing with that. We had some washouts on roads around us. That's pretty weird, coming up to a road and there's no more. So it was
sinkholes.
Sinkholes, yeah.
Mm.
But we're lucky in the big picture. We could have been far worse off, like the folks in Asheville. God, that's awful up there.
Oh, talk about washouts. I mean, they're saying I-40 won't open until 2028.
Yeah. Wow.
It's out of control.
Wow.
Yeah. But and then down in Florida, I mean, Santa Maria, Iowa, that's just got decimated. It got hit with the first one, and then got whacked the second time. But Andy, Ryder Cup. Actually, you know what? No, Bobby, you're the PGA member. You're the one that brought this to our attention.
I did. Yeah, and I've been doing
Are we having to pay for the new headquarters in Frisco in one event?
That's a great comment. And I've been doing my own little non-scientific study the last couple of days, because when I saw that original post, I think it was late Monday, more commentary.
Share with everybody what the post was. If no one's damage to the wallet.
Yeah. Okay. So I don't know where to start. I don't want to bore anybody too much, but basically, so the Ryder Cup ticket prices come out for next year for 2025. They're about $250 or so. for the practice round. So let's 24 golfers scattered here and there, walking around, not even really playing 18, maybe play 18. And then you got $450 for the Thursday still practice round and the opening ceremonies, which is, you know, it's not the greatest show on earth or anything, but it's just $450. And then for the tournament itself, for the matches, it's $750 Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And there's only so many matches for Friday and Saturday. Everybody might play Sunday, but still, that's in the game of golf for the spectator portion of this. It's pretty exorbitant. It doesn't shed a good light. You're playing a public golf course that talks about affordability. Yeah, you got $750 ticket prices. Granted, it includes some food and non-alcoholic. So I think the optics aren't so good. If you compare it to other greens fees, at least you're playing the golf course, you're enjoying Pebble Beach, you're enjoying wherever you're going. Not that it's cheap. There was some commentary from some writers that said, well, maybe supply and demand comes into play, and have you really pushed the envelope for demand? And can the average golfer go? I don't think so. And that average Joe golfer, if you think of Fenway Park and you think of some of these great places, the Boston Garden growing up, just I'm looking at Andy, when the playoffs came and the ticket prices went up, it's a different crowd that can afford it than the Joe average lunch pail guy that's going to go crazy. So one of the writers said, if the American team loses because it's so milk toast out there with people politely clapping, this could really come back to the PGA really bad.
So I remember this, and Christian should expound on it, but I really want to get back to Andy. I mean, Christian, you probably remember when NASCAR raised all their prices and ran the good old boys out for more, right? No? Nothing? Okay. Andy, why did they raise the ticket?
Well, I think nobody really knows, but I think the number one answer is because they can, right?
Yeah, Super Bowl sells for 10,000, 15,000, whatever it is.
Yeah, so it's funny. I was listening today on the radio, on PGA Tour radio. They were talking about why potentially the prices went up so bad, and they started quoting Delaware North, who happens to be one of my customers. And I was at a conference, a couple months ago, and the Delaware North guy was on the panel, and they were asking him, why am I paying $19 for a beer at Madison Square Garden? And basically his answer was, because all things considered, all the escalation in salary, player salaries, all these things have to be paid for by somebody, right? So, and I'm going to talk out of both sides of my mouth here a little bit, but I think there's a little bit of that going on, number one. And number two, I think there is limited opportunities for the PGA of America to make this sort of money. And Bob, to your point, I wonder, if you took away the balance sheet and all of the revenues from the Ryder Cup, just how much tickets are a part of that revenue base versus television rights and all that other stuff. I wonder if the delta between a $200 ticket and a $750 ticket is even all that significant, at the end of the day to the bottom line. So I don't know. It just seems to be a little bit of a difficult thing for people to grasp, I guess.
Christian,
Andy, a real quick aside off the subject slightly. Delaware North owns the Boston Bruins. Could they take some of that $19 beer and get some really good hockey players for our hockey team? Okay.
Hey, they're at the salary cap, Bobby. Come on.
Yeah. Okay, let's go. All right.
Christian, you are a part of the Gen Z 28-year-old. You're not the normal golf bro, but you're in sales.
Thank God.
Is the bros going to, yeah, thank God, right? Is the bros going to really still go out there for $19 beers for the experience at $7.50 a pop, 20,000 strong? Beth Page
Of course
Black.
they are. And then they're going to complain about it because they're broke afterwards, because they think going out and getting drunk all day watching Rory miss a 5-foot putt is going to be enjoyable. I mean, I don't know. I see both sides of it. I see why they're doing it. I think it's outrageous for the price. Personally, I would never spend $750 for that. That's just me, right? I'd rather go spend $750 on something else. But others, I see why they're doing it. It's a once in a lifetime experience.
Hang on a minute.
You know,
Your Eagles, they charge on the secondary market big numbers for those tickets.
I don't know why they suck. So, but the PGA has 5 tournaments, maybe 6 tournaments a year, not even a year. 6 tournaments that they can realistically put the price out there. It's all the majors, Players Championship, and then you can say the argument for either a President's Cup or a Ryder Cup, obviously when it's in the States.
Yeah,
those are the tournaments.
The only 2 they control are the PGA Championship and the Ryder Cup.
Right.
All the rest are PGA Tour stuff, and that's kind of at the crux of the issue here.
So I don't know. I think it's a crazy price. Just coming from again, I would not spend that. But I'm going to talk like out of both sides of my mouth. If it was a Ryder Cup, say over in Europe, that's a different story. For me personally, I would rather go spend $750 on somewhere like Pebble Beach or somewhere that is like more of a name brand. Not saying Bethpage isn't a name brand, but for me personally, if I'm spending that kind of money, it's going to have to be a Pebble or it's going to have to be somewhere overseas for me to do that. That's just me.
BE, as a PGA member, would you get dressed up in an American pullover and stand on the first tee and cheer for $750?
No, because we're spoiled. PGA members are spoiled. We don't pay for the Masters. We don't pay for the Ryder Cup. I've been to the Ryder Cup, the very tragic Ryder Cup in Chicago at Medina. That was, but I guess I'm kind of out of touch with the average golf fan has to pay. So I never really paid attention to tickets other than the Masters, because that's always a talking point of secondary market prices and stuff for that. But when I saw that, I'm like, I didn't even really know what tickets were going for prior to them putting them a little bit higher for 25. So I'm out of touch with that. But like Andy was saying, from the business side, you price things where people are going to pay for them. I mean, they could probably realistically stretch it even more and still have thousands and thousands of fans out there. And it's not not everybody's going for getting that $750 price point. There's a lot of ways people make their way into a major championship or a Ryder Cup or anything. So there's other ways to get in. But $750, that's steep.
But I don't think attendance is going to go down though.
No, I don't think
they're still going to get hundreds of thousands of people at that price.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, sell out.
I would pay $750 to see Alan DePew all dressed up on an American on the first tee box. I'd pay. That's priceless to me, actually.
Dude, you give me a ticket, I'm there.
So Christian, to your
would you like me to go dressed as Santa Claus again?
No, I want you to go to the Eagles game dressed as Santa Claus.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
For a snowstorm, I'm going to show up there as Santa Claus.
If you do that, I'm not a golf bro, but I will do that for an Eagles game if you do that.
So I think Christian made a good point. And I think he's 100% spot on. Is the knuckleheads will find a way to get in, and they'll find a way to justify spending $750. So at the end of the day, do I feel bad? You know, maybe there are some cases where I feel bad, but you know, it's that supply and demand thing.
And it'll be more than that, because that's out on Long Island. I've been there a couple times. You're going to have to stay somewhere out there. The hotels are going to just blank you. Just to go for one day, if you happen to go for the tournament days, your whole trip's probably a couple of $1,000. You know, maybe it's a bucket list thing. I don't know. I think that the average golfer fan is looking at this going, hey, PGA America, you're not for profit. Hey, you're playing at a public facility. You've gone from $200 tickets last time to $750. The Ryder Cup in Rome was something like $80, $60. So everything just doesn't look so good. Yeah, at the end of the day, people are going to pay it probably. It's just gonna. I hate the messaging that comes around, and then the
USA
players don't get paid.
Oh,
USA better win.
Oh yeah, a lot of pressure on the USA.
Can I just add? I've been to two of them. I was at the Oak Hill one. I want to say 93 or 5 or something like that. And then I was at Brookline. It is not a great event to go to in person at all. Like the
Yeah, 'cause
Rochester one, I literally felt like I missed the Ryder Cup because
Right.
we had to go hunker down on the 17th green, um, long before anyone was there, and then we got to watch 12 groups play the 17th hole. That's it, right? And then the whole Ryder Cup was hinging on what happened after they left the 17th green and played 18. Nick Faldo,
Mhm.
got his third shot up and down to beat Curtis Strange and like all that stuff. And it's just crappy. It's not a great event to go to.
it's not a good in-person event, right?
Great TV event.
It's a great TV
Yep.
event.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. But that goes for any major championship, right? It's impossible now to watch like any type of major in person. You have to literally go. If you want to see Scotty Scheffler hit a tee shot, you're going 5 holes ahead of everybody else.
Yep.
If that was up to me, I would go to like the Valspar Championship, literally that you can still get a couple good big names and watch them. That is what I would rather do than go watch a major championship. You go there for obviously to say to people that you went to a major, you went to a Ryder Cup. It's great, right? But it like when it's here next year in Charlotte, it's gonna be awful. So like not in a bad way to watch it, but like when I go with my family and that kind of stuff, like it's just tough to watch some of your favorite players because you can't.
Or you go Tuesday, Wednesday, and you watch the practice rounds where you get up on the ropes
Yeah,
and
or
actually watch.
yeah.
I mean, I stood literally right behind Brooks on the 9th hole at Shinnecock, and I mean, just rips it.
So here's the question though. Is the value in going to see those events getting to see great performers up close or getting to see the theater of the event, right? So if you're looking to see the theater event, it's pretty damn hard. If you want to just go get up close and watch the best players in the world, hit balls and play a practice round. I mean, like I love that more than anything. But
Yeah.
BE,
Any avid golfer would learn more from that, in my opinion.
what's your thoughts,
Like,
BE?
Well, I've been to a bunch of Masters. That's different. I almost throw the Masters out of it because that's an experience. There's traditional things you want to do if you're going to Augusta, like the par 3 or watching them practice at the practice facility or shopping or there's all that stuff. I've been to a couple PGA championships, and the one that I went to most recently was with my dad at Kiowa, and that I thought that was pretty good, and I had my doubts that was going to be uh, from the standpoint of the fans being able to watch. I didn't know how that would set up, but it was set up pretty good. But you kind of have to plan your time and plan your day. You're going to spend a little bit of time here watching the guys practice. You're going to have to pick a player to watch X amount of holes, maybe pick up somebody else on the turn. But I don't even stay at the Masters anymore unless there's a great storyline on the weekend. I come home so I can watch the final round on TV so I can see what happens.
I mean, to Bobby's point, though, Kia was a great comparison in a different way. It's a transportation nightmare to get in and out of there. It's going to be the same at Beth. I mean, Bethpage is not going to be enjoyable to try to get in and out of.
Nope.
No.
Not at all.
And you're already limited with hotels to begin with, and you're factoring in people flying in potentially, a lot of them internationally, a lot of them even domestically. Like, there's only a lot of private airports on the island, but you could also fly low cost. And there's a couple like Allegiant, I think, or Avila fly into there. But like half of them are flying into JFK. And if you fly into Newark or LaGuardia, you're taking an hour to get down there or more easily with traffic.
Anybody catch Captain Keegan and Luke's presser about a week or so ago?
Bits.
Just the highlights.
Just highlights, yeah.
Thoughts?
Was it about the Phil Mickelson comment or no?
No, it was just a traditional thing that both captains do at the site, and Q&A stuff, and then they do some hitting golf balls and stuff. But I'm excited because I like both of these guys a lot, and I think that it's going to be probably it's a Ryder Cup, so there's always going to be drama. But I think these guys don't have that mean bone in the body, with the exception of Keegan had that little scuffle with him, and was it Jimenez a couple years back?
Yep.
But I think they're going to be very respectful. I think it's going to be really, really good to have those two guys in particular, because the crowd at Bethpage, we'll see how the crowd at Bethpage behaves themselves.
So what quick sidebar, what was a better interaction? Elkington and Bubba Watson or Keegan and Jimenez?
They're both pretty good.
They
Both
were
classics.
Yes, exactly.
Hey, Andy, I think we may have to create a Hall of Fame for "Don't Be That Guy" at this next Ryder Cup.
Exactly.
Who's going to be more rowdy? Here's a question for everybody. Is it going to be the Ryder Cup or is it going to be 16 at the Waste Management?
Ryder Cup.
You think it's going to get to that level, AD?
Yeah, I do.
Oh.
Yeah, I do.
I would say I agree.
They will not let it. Like with all the alcohol and stuff, they will not let that happen.
I mean, Waste Management gets out of hand.
Waste Management is out of hand.
I don't think we'll see that again. Not to the extent of last year. I just don't think.
Not even there.
Well, we won't see it on TV, obviously, but who knows what's going to happen off air, right? Or when they're not being. I bet you there's going to be. I'd say half the people there are going to be feeling very good.
My comments may be simply because Philly, New York got going on, right? I think the New York bros are going to get hammered.
Yeah, it's a different dynamic though, right? Because you're talking about like the pride in the whole Ryder Cup atmosphere versus just let's go get shit-faced at the Waste Management, right? So it's a different deal. I think regardless of how much they drink at Bethpage, there's going to be a lot of partisanship, bordering on the edge of being ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, the Waste Management, they cheer the bad shots, they cheer this. You don't hear as much about the negative chants directed at the player while the player's attempting to play the shot.
Because they don't care. They don't care. There's something way more large at stake with the Ryder Cup.
Because of events and venues.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, I could see Rory taking the club back and they're just, giving it to him.
And Sergio wants to make the team. Wouldn't that be amazing?
Oh, I hope he does.
My putting no good.
That would be amazing.
So I was just surfing something the other day. I found this little article. I think it was in Golf Digest or Golf Magazine. I want to give full journalistic responsibility here, recognition. Freddie Couples breaks down his swing keys. Okay, you with me? I got 4 really good players. I resemble Donald Duck back there. Anyway, Couples makes his backswing. He only thinks about completing his full shoulder turn and then clearing his hips past. What do you say here? On the downswing, he feels his hips open up past impact.
Did he say full shoulder turn, Alan?
Huh?
Did he say full shoulder turn?
Yeah, he did.
It sounds like way more than he would have thought. I thought he was going to. I pick the club up and just move. That would be a Freddie thing.
I throw it out there because we joke about my lack of shoulder turn, but that's really not why I chose that, Andy. But thanks for bringing back the scar tissue.
My pleasure. My
Yes,
pleasure.
appreciate that. I mean, is it that simplistic, B?
What? Yes and no. It is when you're playing, or it should be when you're playing. The real work's on the range, and with a coach. But yeah, I mean, you got to simplify it when you're playing around.
Yeah, and I think Freddie's talking about what his swing keys are, or his swing thoughts that make sense to him that allow him to play good golf. I don't think he's ever going to be like 1/10 of what Tiger Woods is in terms of thirst of knowledge about what his body's doing with the golf club in his golf swing, right? I don't think that's who he is. I think him talking about those things merely what gets him through around the golf when he feels good about his game.
We'll have him on pretty soon. Stephen Yellen, a friend of the show, written some good books. He posted something from Tiger Woods that Tiger said there's been many times in major championships he pulls the club and doesn't remember the shot, doesn't remember swinging. Like that's even taken Freddie's simplistic thing up to way new levels of just moving, just walking up, moving, and
I've had that conversation with Stephen before, right? And I don't know about you guys. I've experienced that only on a putt. Like I'll have a 6 foot putt. I'm all amped up and nerved about it, and I'll make a stroke. And sometimes like I wasn't even aware that I had started, right? But never in a million years have I ever come close to that on a full swing. How about you guys?
it's happened to me a couple times. Not in PGA Tour events, but being 16 years old, playing in the Mass Open, the Vermont Open, some other club events or PGA Club Pro events, where more so when I was younger, and I remember walking up to the tee, not remembering swinging and just not wanting to fall down, and I look up and the ball's going straight, and I couldn't figure out how I made a golf swing, just being so nervous, but repetitive, and just trusting it. I remember playing in the Vermont Open one year with Jeff Lewis and Bill Mallon, who were playing on and off the tour, and I think that was
Lake Morian.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah,
Yep.
that boy, Alan.
Yep. I don't know how I got the ball airborne. I was so nervous.
Wait a minute, seriously, did you boys play in that?
Yeah.
I never did, but it was at Lake Morian every year for
Oh yeah, I played in it
Yeah.
when I graduated. But I skipped my high school graduation to drive through the night to play at Lake Morian in the Vermont Open.
Yep.
That's awesome.
And
A bunch of
and flat out topped it off the first tee. So I did memorize that, Andy. I do remember that swing.
You were fully conscious with both hands on the wheel.
So I jumped ship in Hong Kong, make my way on your deathbed. You'll regain full consciousness. So I got that going for me.
Yeah.
Christian, how about you when you stripe it?
Well, I try not to think about anything on the golf course, to be honest with you, because the more I think, the worse I play. That's just, and it was something that I really worked on in college specifically, just because when I was in the groove and I was in my own and playing some of the best search of golf that I ever did, I was just honestly not even thinking about really anything. I just had a clear mind and just went out there and did something that I love. I can't say I've ever done that where I don't remember actually. I think there was maybe one time in my life, maybe twice, where it happened, and it was. I don't really remember much from it, but I think there were 2 putts, to be honest with you, and one of them was to. I think it was when I was 16. I tried to. I think I was shooting 67, and I knew the putt was for that. I couldn't tell you anything about the putt at all. I couldn't tell you. I blacked out. Right. And the same thing happened in college when I was leading a golf tournament after the first 18. The last putt in the first round, same thing. So it's only happened really twice. But, I think that's why the mental game is so important when and it's so fascinating to learn more about it personally. I love talking to people about what they think of on and off the golf course, and like what they do, like these sports psychiatrists, for example, that you see on Full Swing. I think that's just like incredible, personally.
BE, let me set the stage. You have been on a personal journey. Is it the physical or is the mental side of the game that is more important with these golfers coming up? And by the way, again, congrats, dude. We're amazing.
Thank
Yep.
you. Well, I'll tell you this before I jump into two thoughts I had. Um, every time and I've been through this a couple times. This is the third time where I'm really trying to lose some weight and get more in shape. Um, I felt so with a club in my hand after I lost all the weight. The previous two times, I just felt so bizarre, so awkward. So there is a lot of learning. There's a curve there when people go through that. So it's both. It's the physical and it's the mental. Um, but two thoughts on what we were talking about previously. I had a student that he's been fighting. He's been playing okay, but he's been fighting throughout a round. He'll have a stretch where he's getting too much out in front of it, and the club just can't catch up, and he's hitting big blocks and big cuts. And then he'll kind of reset himself and be okay. Well, the other day we were on the range, and I said, I got the Rapsodo charged up. Let's get your numbers. We haven't done that in a while, and I like to do that occasionally with the kids to get their numbers on each of their clubs. And he was striping it. And I didn't say a word to him. I was having him do six balls, half a dozen balls with each club and go through it. And we average it out, get his carry in total. And he striped it the whole time. I said, you know what, dude? You weren't thinking once about your golf swing. And you were more focused on what we were doing on getting your yardages because he's been airmailing greens. He's just been hitting it, pretty solid. And I use that as an opportunity to tell him, look, this is what you need to do on the golf course. This is what I'm talking about. You can't let what happened in the past or what's going to happen in the future dictate how you're going to hit the ball right now. And that was a phenomenal learning experience for him that day.
I think that's awesome. I think it's so critical, especially in junior golf too, to have them get in the right mindset early.
Yep.
You know, whether they have the passion to go to the tour or try to make it to the tour or not, I think it's critical to have them early on. Like I wish I had a better um upbringing in golf, if I'm being honest, when it came to the mental side of it, just because like I think I could have done something with it. Not saying I could have ever made it on television, but I would have given it a chance if I had a better coach in college, for sure. So, if it wasn't for my swing coach when I met him in a Dick's Sporting Goods on Route 31, I wouldn't even be half the golfer that I am today. So, if he listens to this, shout out to him,
Say his name.
Scott Russell.
Way to go, Scott.
He's my big brother that I met randomly in a golf simulator on Dick's Sporting Goods.
So I think Brendan, your example is interesting because all golfers have to go through that process of realization that that's how you play golf, right? Everybody's, and I'm sure it's much easier for some than it is for others, but everybody must go through that process of learning, how to have your mind settled and quiet so that you can actually perform when the spotlight's on.
Andy, I got another one. Wanted to throw something over to you anyway in a second, but I always remember as a kid, I found it fun to go. At least this is my rationale. I'd always move up tees because I wanted to mentally get used to shooting
Yes.
low numbers.
Yes, I love that.
And I've said that to people in the past, and they just look at you like you're crazy. You may have the ability to go all the way to the back, but if you play up, especially as you're younger, and then you progressively move back, what does that? I mean, What's your thoughts there, Andy?
No, it's funny. This is so relevant to something that we've been talking about recently, where we just got done with the Houston City Amateur, which is played on this really tricky but really short golf course, right? And Champions, where we play all the time, you don't hit wedges at Champions. Like you don't. The three par fives are all reachable. So if you hit a good drive, you're, swinging at it with a long iron or a fairway wood and hitting it up near the green. The par fours are almost all long. You might hit a wedge once around. When I say a wedge, I mean pitching wedge and below, right? So we go to this Gus Wortham golf course here in town for the city championship, and you're hitting wedge on every hole, but you're hitting them off of really tight lies to really difficult green complexes, with not a lot of grass under your ball. And it's a level of comfort that, Alan, 100%. Like I just said this last night, I'm like, next year, I'm going to 100% prepare for that tournament by playing a shorter golf course, hitting wedges, being comfortable hitting wedge approach shots into greens, because you think it's easy, but it's not. It's not at all.
Did you find that 85-yard spot again?
Yeah. Well, it was 60 this time, and it took me 3 to get on the green. It did.
Mm.
It's if there was a nice like bed of grass under the ball, that'd be one thing, but this place is just really thin, and it's like playing in the UK where the ball sits on the tierra firma.
All these little hard pan tight lies.
Yep.
Mm.
It's hard.
Andy, what do you got? You got anything this week?
Yeah, so along those lines, we had something come up in the tournament that was, I wouldn't call it controversial, but it was something that we started to discuss as a group. So one of the great things COVID brought to golf was live scoring for amateur tournaments, through Golf Genius or Blue Golf. But as you get into some of these tournaments, most of the groups are sitting there inputting their scores as they play each hole. And it's great. And some players don't. And the question is, like, what do you guys feel about that? Do you feel like it's a responsibility of the field to keep the scores updated? Because the ones who don't have a really big advantage.
I'm constantly on apps because all my juniors, that's how they score everything. And it drives me insane when you've got 75, 80% of the field through most of their round, and there's that one person that's only through the sixth hole. And then that person, you discount that person, and then when it comes to final scores, all of a sudden they pop up to the top. I'm like, that should not be allowed when you're doing live scoring.
Yeah, I agree. Tough. I mean, that's part of the competition as a player responsibility. And yeah, if you have one or two people doing that, that's just not right.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on the player if you really break it down, or like, I don't know.
Why is it not a stipulation of the event?
Well, we talked about that with the guys who run the Houston City Amateur were asking a small group of us what they think they should do. And if you think about it from their shoes, I mean, do you have a right to make somebody do that? I mean, do you? I think
how you're scoring, yeah.
I mean, at the end of the round, you do.
If you had an 18 volunteers that were sitting off of every green and they recorded a score just like a tour event, what's the difference between that and asking around the group, hey, what do you got there? Boom, 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 put them in.
Because there aren't 18 volunteers, so you're asking a player to do it, which I'm on the side of everybody should do it. Like it is a dynamic of competitive golf now. Brendan, to your point, college tournaments are scored that way, junior tournaments are scored that way. I think everybody needs to buy into that's the way it's done. And while maybe it's more of an etiquette thing than a rule thing, but it needs to be pressed down on everybody that this is what's expected of you.
Yep.
I agree with that.
Just because it's digital doesn't mean it's any less important than when it was paper all the, for hundreds of years.
So Andy, I know you were probably reserved in your opinion to the people who were asking the question, but what was the general consensus of the group?
That everybody should do it. But me being who I am, I'm always looking at it from the side of the administrator too. And just trying to get my arms around what it's like for them to have to enforce it. And I'm not saying it's not enforceable. I'm just saying that there's if there's guys who refuse to do it, which I think is chicken shit, but there may be guys that refuse to do it. And what are you going to do?
Why? Because it's going to interrupt their mojo of their round.
Who knows? Yeah, golfers are weird, right? We know that. But you can't penalize them. You can't DQ them.
I've had to play in a few events where you were told at the end of every hole you got to put the score in, and if you don't, there's ramifications.
It's better for the tournament. It's better for the game.
Yeah.
Like it's a gift that COVID gave us, right? It just makes things so much better.
Yeah.
Like what was worse than when you're playing in a tournament back in the day, Bobby, or Alan, like playing at Lake Maury, and you all come in at the end and you have no clue who did what. And Andy Morse from Weymouth ends up winning the Vermont Open.
Yeah.
Nobody knew, right? I mean, things like that. So it's just an improvement to the process of tournament golf that I think everybody needs to be on board with and learn how to deal with it.
Agreed.
All right. So we're winding down the back nine, but I failed to bring up when I'm talking about damage. Bobby, what happened at Augusta?
Wow, they got hammered with that storm that came up, and when Helene went through there, and I saw some of the photos that from 16, they got 2 trees down across 16 green. They're so big, you got to think they got to rebuild 16 green to some extent. The 3 trees behind 15 green, it looks like all 3 are down, which is, I mean, that's such I always wondered about that when I've been there. Like, what if those trees weren't there?
Yeah, they're iconic. They're iconic.
Oh my God, yeah. Magnolia Drive damaged, and those were seedlings planted 100 something years ago. It looked like, obviously, in the parking area with the first photos that came out, that there's a lot of damage. Matt Williams, I worked with for Drive Chip and Putt, he had 2 big pine trees land on his house. There's devastation there that you got to think of the humanity first. Then, can they hold the tournament? I suppose. I mean, geez, it seems like Augusta can do anything. I don't know how they do it, but and I wouldn't put it past them if they could find like some 50-foot trees and they're going to transplant them, and you're not going to believe. Yeah.
That's what I was just going to say. They've already genetically reproduced those trees.
Right.
I mean, just different places.
Those iconic trees were chopped up and chippered like a week ago.
Yeah, exactly.
It's crazy. It's
and
crazy.
Glued back together piece by piece.
Somehow they're going to pull it together, I suppose. But I mean, it's amazing. They had a lot of damage out there, and a lot of golf courses had damage. A lot of PGA and LPGA professionals out there, their homes were damaged. Friends of ours, all of us sitting here, it kills you. It just absolutely rips your heart out what they went through, and it's for the non-Augustas out there, it's going to take a while to rebuild.
Andy, live report.
So, in the world of the Blase Live Golf Tour, there was a little something, a blip on the screen this week.
There's
on
life.
on foreplay that Liv is looking for a new CEO, which points to the fact that they might be close to agreeing on a deal. And I think we all agreed all along that whatever ends up happening between the PGA Tour and Liv, it will not include Greg Norman. Certainly not as the head of Liv Golf. There's just too much animosity there, and so it's interesting if there's truth to that rumor, then we may be closer to a deal than we know.
As one that has run for political office, I would like to throw my hat into the ring for that position. Immunity back to golf.
Make golf great again.
Make golf great again. Turn the page and move forward. Christian, what do you think about Greg Norman going bye-bye?
I don't even know. Where is he? I'm gonna start saying where's Greg instead of where's Andy. No, I mean, I think if a deal was to be made and they finally came to an agreement on that, I mean, yeah, you have to just rip the Band-Aid off. You just have to do it. I mean, like, I feel like if he was still in the equation, this deal would never have been made or would be made. Excuse me. So, I'm curious to see how this all unfolds over the next couple, months and years and exactly what happens. But it's going to be interesting to see it from the sidelines. Because I think everybody's just over it, right? I mean, Rory, you see somebody like Rory who is so against it, and he's come around 180. I've come around 180 on Bryson since the beginning of it.
You got a man crush on him right now, don't you?
Hey, Bryson's changed the game. I mean, he has changed literally. I mean, he just has his Break 50 series, regardless of who's been on it, broke the internet. I mean, like literally, what was it? He had Phil Mickelson, I think, coming up. I don't know if it dropped today or tomorrow.
Phil's the last episode of this season, right? And
yeah, that drops today. I haven't seen it yet. They'll do it. They'll break 50
easily.
So, it's just he's brought on a lot of different people, and again, he's really broke the internet. But I do think that he has changed golf for the better. Personally, I think that is what golf kind of needed. Obviously with COVID happening over the last couple of years and, still happening today, but I think that's kind of what golf needed, like a spark like that after everything that happened. And I think he brought that spark right back into it personally.
Who would have thought? Bryson?
Who would have thunk, who would not me. So, but I'm also curious to see what happens here with the little, Capital One match coming up.
Yeah.
Yep.
That'll be a fun watch.
Looking forward to that.
It's a must watch.
All right, 18th green, BE. You're on the box.
Two things. I don't know why I've never seen this before, but the DP World Tour has this tour that's called the G4D, which is for individuals with disabilities. They play 6 events that's on the same venues of the DP World Tour that week. And there was a young man that, well, not young, he's 44, but he's the first autistic player to win on that tour. And just if you get a chance, go on DP World Tour and watch his interview. It was awesome. I love it.
It was awesome. It was awesome.
Second thing is, I tell you, this remote coaching I've been doing with this kid at my home course, I've mentioned him before. Kid's 13, 7th grader. His stroke average for his first year of high school golf was 0. So he's shooting even par, is a 7th grader. He went out and won his Class B championship on a rainy, cold day with a 77, but he had 101 temperature. And had the flu basically. So it was Jordan flu game part 2. So Brevin, if you listen to this, and I'm going to send it so you will listen to it. Congratulations, dude. You got 5 more years of high school golf to go. You're going to do a lot of good things.
It's awesome. It's great stuff.
That's incredible.
BB, what you got?
Yeah, the last few days I was in Frisco, Texas. We one of the rules officials for the PGA Junior League National Championship, and the kids are great, but it's the stories behind everything that are the best. The first day at the swimming pool, I wasn't there, but the parents are telling me Ben Roethlisberger, his son played on the Pennsylvania team. Roethlisberger, a star QB, is throwing Nerf footballs at kids jumping in the pool. The kids don't know who this guy is. They just said, related to me from a parent, that the kids are going, yeah, that dad over there is really good throwing football. Can you keep throwing it? Love that. Tony Finau was the assistant coach, legitimate in the game, assistant coach for Utah, all over the place. Couldn't have been nicer. I shook his hand. I said hi. He's got a huge hand. His son played in it. I cannot tell you how. I mean, I think Tony Finau is an amazing human. What I saw him do to his team, the talk he gave, the compassion, the empathetic nature of what he was saying. And if Tony ever listens to this, I wasn't eavesdropping, but I was trying to listen because I was so absolutely stunned at how he was taking these kids under his wing. That had just lost the last hole, kind of the last shot to not get to the final match. And he was spectacular. I cannot say enough about how he treated the kids, how he was working with the kids. He wasn't a tour star that showed up. He kept getting out of the way for the TV cameras. He didn't want it to be about him. And all the little stories of inside the ropes, and the kids are in the final match and they tee off, and I'm overhearing them walking off the tee talking about history project next week. They're just kids having fun playing golf. It was very refreshing to see from the inside perspective, and different from what you see on ESPN. But 2 playoff, Georgia won. It was a heck of a few days.
Awesome, all the way around. Christian. Yep, never mind. Christian's taking a break. Andy?
He's a union podcaster.
What the hell?
So a couple of things. My first one is, as we love to talk about events and venues, and this has nothing to do with, in a negative way, with Matt McCarty, but you throw a Matt McCarty out there at a venue that's brand new on the PGA Tour, and it might as well be nothing. Like there's no interest in the event, right? It's just really hard to get there. But that's what this, and I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth because that's what this time of year is. But
yeah,
it's a little tough to get into, like what was going on last week. My larger point is I was over listening to PGA Tour radio again, which I apparently seem to do a lot of. And they were talking about slow play. And we're talking about one event this year, I think it was a PGA Championship, where they have time pars for the players. And there was a time par for twosomes, may have been the last round of the PGA Championship, was 5 hours and 26 minutes. Okay. If you don't think we have a problem, like that is a catastrophe. A twosome, 5 hours and 26 minutes. If you're 5:27, maybe we'll look at you, but if you're 5:25, you're all within the expected norms. I mean, that's crazy.
Christian?
Sorry, my dog was barking at a delivery driver, so that's why I had to go last. But for me, first and foremost, BE, glad you're safe, brother. I'm happy that you guys were safe during the hurricane, and my thoughts and prayers are going out to everybody that was affected by that. It's terrible watching it. I feel for everybody that was affected by it, and I can speak on all of us here that we are all here for anybody going through that difficult time. So I'm just going to keep it short and sweet with that personally, and take care of yourself, take care of each other.
Okay, good. Because I'm going to pick up, I got 3 things. 1, check out our Facebook page. There is a link to the Golf Course Superintendents Association fundraising for golf course superintendents primarily. I'm sure they're putting things out to other people as well. Because if you've never been in Western North Carolina, those mountains, those rivers, it's decimated. They need some help down there, folks. That's one. Two, Caitlin Clark has got game on a golf course.
Yeah.
Holy hell. That didn't
Good swing.
expect that. Didn't expect that golf swing.
Good swing.
Have to break that one down next week, BB. And three, I'm going to end this with a trivia contest for you guys. For the third time in history, Lucas Glover this past week, Luke Donald, and Joey Sindelar. Donald in 2016 at the Wyndham, Sindelar way back at 2005 at the Canadian Open. 3 times these gentlemen did something. Can you
Shots
guess what
gained.
it is?
Something about shots gained from the fairway, but he putted awful.
Anybody else?
I have no guess.
Nothing.
The only 3 instances in the ShotLink history for a golfer to gain 13 plus strokes on approach and not win.
Wow.
Wow.
Did not make the putts.
Andy, sorry to bring up scar tissue on that one. Until next week.